Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Tate and my mentor was Dr. Alyssa Call and my project was on sexual assault on college campuses. First, I will explain the importance of this study through the introduction. Then I will talk about the present study, the methods, and the results. I will also review the limitations of the study before concluding. The importance of this topic stems from the prevalence of sexual assault on college campuses. There are 8.4% of college women and 0.6% of college men that have experienced non-consensual vaginal, anal, or oral intercourse. There are 14.2% of college women and 1.9% of college men who have experienced incapacitated rape. More than 30% of college men and women have experienced non-consensual kissing and sexual touching. With the prevalence of sexual assault comes the belief of rape myths. Rape myths is a false belief or attitude about rape that may be widely held with the purpose of denying and justifying sexual aggression of men, usually against women. There are 4 main rape myths, and these are: she asked for it, it wasn't really rape, he didn't mean to, and she lied. With the rape myths and sexual assault comes a need of a resource for those who have been a victim of sexual assault, and at universities, this is called Title IX. Title IX is a federal law prohibiting discrimination on identifiable characteristics such as sex, gender, race, sexual orientation, religion, and disability. How this works is that when there is a report of sexual assault, the appointed Title IX coordinator is there to assist the plaintiff in the investigation. So investigators will gather evidence from both sides. They will conduct interviews, record notes, reports, and summaries. They will complete final disposition letters. They will look at disciplinary records and a notice of appeal if applicable. So now we will go on to the present study. In the present study, we had 2 hypotheses. First one is the educational intervention will reduce participants' perceptions and attitudes of rape myth acceptance. The second hypothesis was the educational intervention will work to increase participants' knowledge about the Title IX process. For our research design, we had a pre and post test design. We had 2 independent variables and 2 dependent variables. Our independent variables were the educational intervention and the control condition intervention, where the dependent variables were the scale scores for the Illinois Rape Myth Acceptance Scale short form, also known as the IRMA, which is what I'll be referring it to later on. And then we had the scale scores for the Title IX questionnaire. For the demographics, we had 151 participants. 119 were female, 31 male, and 1 was non-binary. The average age was 21 years old, and most of our participants identified themselves as white. There were 66.2% that have never completed a Title IX module, meaning that 33.8% had. There were 63.6% that had a friend who had been sexually assaulted, and then there were 37.1% reporting have been sexually assaulted themselves. For our scales, we had the Illinois Rape Myth Acceptance Scale, or again the IRMA, which was a 22-item scale assessing the individual's acceptance of rape myths. All the items were rated on a 5-point Likert scale from 1 strongly agree to 5 strongly disagree. The higher scores indicated greater rejection of rape myths. And the second scale was a self-developed Title IX questionnaire that had 10 items that assessed an individual's knowledge on Title IX specific to Black Hills State University. The higher scores indicated higher knowledge of Title IX. We also had a filler task, which was a 21-item personality questionnaire. The purpose of this filler task was to create time between the pre and post tests. Then we had the demographic questionnaire, which had 10 items on it, and it was assessed basic demographic variables such as age, sex, and race, as well as assessing year in school and like the college that one is a part of here at Black Hills State. For our interventions, we had the educational intervention. That was a 21-slide PowerPoint, which provided information on dispelling rape myths and the Title IX process. And we also had the control condition intervention. That was a 16-slide PowerPoint that provided information on how to install a gas water heater. This intervention purposely relayed information unrelated to campus sexual assault. For the procedure, we had our data collected through psych data surveys after getting consent from the participants. First, the participants were to fill out the IRMA and the Title IX questionnaire. Then they were either assigned to the educational intervention or the control condition. And they would watch that, and then after that, they would fill out the filler task, which again was to rate time between the pre and post test. And then they would again fill out the IRMA and the Title IX questionnaire. Then they would fill out the demographic survey before being debriefed at the end. So here, now I will explain the results that we found. So for our analyses, we used a mixed design analysis of variance, which is also known as ANOVA. This looked at between subjects variable, which was the intervention versus the condition, and then the within subjects variable, which was time. So this allowed us to compare pre and post tests on dependent variables that were between our conditions. So for the IRMA results, in the pre-test, the scores ranged from 40 to 110. The higher the mean indicated greater rejection of rate miss. Scores were moderately high for the IRMA scale pre-scores, with a mean of 91.43. In our post-test, the scores ranged from 22 to 110. Again, the higher the mean indicated greater rejection of rate miss. The scores were higher than the pre-scores with a mean of 92.92. You can see here the frequencies of the pre and post scores, where you can see the increase of scores indicating greater rejection of rate miss in the post scores from figure 1 to figure 2. For a simple effects analysis, there was no main effective time for the IRMA pre and post scores. However, as expected, results indicated an interaction between the presented condition and time. The simple effects analysis revealed participants assigned to the educational intervention rejected rate miss more than when participants were assigned to the control condition. There was no difference in the pre and post scores on the IRMA when the control condition was presented to the participants. Moreover, there were no statistically significant differences in the IRMA scores between the conditions at the time 1 nor at time 2, and this can all be seen within the numbers on the slide. And here we can see the estimated marginal means. When you look at the means at the intervention and the water heater at time 1 and 2, you can see that it's significant between the intervention and not the water heater. Here you can see the interaction, which is between the blue line at times 1 and 2, and there's no other significance in this interaction, just the 1. So for the Title IX results, for the pre-test, the scores range from 3 to 10. The higher the mean indicated better understanding and knowledge of the Title IX process. The scores were moderately high for the Title IX scale pre-scores with a mean of 7.42. For the post-test, the scores ranged from 2 to 9, which again, the higher the mean indicating better understanding and knowledge of the Title IX process. The scores were again higher than the pre-scores with a mean of 9.66. And here you can see the frequencies of the pre and post scores, that you can see the increase of the scores indicating higher knowledge of Title IX from figure 4 to figure 5. So for the simple effects analysis for Title IX, there was a mean effective time for the Title IX pre and post scores. Further, as predicted, there was an interaction between the presented condition and time. The simple effects analyses revealed participants assigned to the educational intervention learned more about the Title IX process than when participants were assigned to the control condition. When participants were assigned to the control condition, there was a statistically significant change in the pre and post Title IX scores. However, this was in the wrong direction, meaning that participants were less educated about Title IX after seeing the control condition and not the educational intervention. At time 1, there was no difference between the intervention and control, but at time 2, there was significant difference between the interventions at time 2, which again can see in the slide the numbers. Here again, we see the estimated marginal means for the Title IX. Once again, looking at the means between the intervention at time 1 and 2 and the water heater at time 1 and 2, we can see the significance of the mean at the intervention. Here, there are 3 interactions for the Title IX. The first one is a difference at time 2 between the red and blue lines, and then again at time 1 and 2 for the red line, and then also between time 1 and for the blue line. The only one is not at time 1 for both of them. Now we will go on to the discussion. The results indicate success of the educational intervention by reducing acceptance of rate miss while simultaneously increasing knowledge of the Title IX process at Black Hills State University. Having found these results, I suggest utilizing a similar educational intervention in the student orientation to address the issue of campus sexual assault. An odd result that we found was that the Title IX scores decreased when they were assigned to the control condition. And we believe that there are two reasons for this. The first one is the fatigue effect, meaning that just throughout the study that the participants may have became tired and then just didn't care about the scores that they put. And the second one is that the participants could have second guessed themselves, meaning that since they didn't have the opportunity of seeing the educational intervention, they may have second guessed their decisions from the pre-test to the post-test. To an intervention such as this one may work to increase reporting to the Title IX resource. The Cleary crime report at BHSU indicated that there were only 6 reports within 2 years, yet seeing our study, there was 63.6% of participants who knew a friend has been sexually assaulted, and 37.1% of participants who have been sexually assaulted themselves. That seems wrong. And this could be that those who are sexually assaulted are not aware of the Title IX resource or do not know who to report to other than the police. And this reason is very probable, as only 33.8% of participants have ever completed a Title IX module. When looking at generalizability, we see that although this intervention was specific to Black Hills State University, other universities could utilize this study. All I would have to do is replace the Title IX information with Title IX information from their university. And by doing this, the other university using the intervention would be likely to yield similar results as we have. Limitations. There were 3 limitations identified. The first being the time limit between the educational intervention and the post-test. This may not have been long enough to create long-term effects on the participants that would create the similar results. And so what we suggest is having a required Title IX module that goes over sexual assault and interim training courses that do the same thing. Second limitation was that the reforms may not be generalizable from university to university. And how we could fix this is by utilizing the Title IX coordinator at every university that uses this intervention and update it whenever there's a reform to make sure that it reflects the new stuff that the university has to go by. And the third limitation is the number of participants who were in the intervention condition versus the control condition were not even, and it would be better to see if they're even if we yield the same results. So in conclusion, there are high numbers of sexual assault on college campuses, and specifically at BHSU's campus. However, the original intervention explored in the study was shown to educate students about rape myths and the Title IX process, while also promoting awareness of sexual assault on college campuses. This topic of sexual assault needs to continue to be addressed in order to decrease the number of sexual assault encounters and in order to increase the reporting. It is our hope that universities consider the implementation of the present original intervention to help change views and knowledge concerning sexual assault for good. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, you can email me at the email below, or I think there's also going to be a comment section, and you can look there and I will check that out. But thank you again.